Olá, I'm Claudia, come from Portugal, from Ericeira, you know, the surf land. Okay. And I have 3 children aged 13, 11, and nearly 9. So, the picture I can give you is based on my personal experience as the mother of Anna, my youngest daughter, who is currently in homeschooling, and also in my professional experiences, because I have been working with some parents, with some families that think about another perspective of education out of the system. So, I have a degree in psychology and also in teaching in the first cycle of the basic education in Portugal. What I would like you to understand at the beginning is that in Portugal, although the home education is legal, most of the people doesn't know about this. And for the last 30 years, this educational system was not even questioned by most of the people, because it was seen as an achievement of our democratic regime that occurred with our revolution in 1974. So, before that, only few persons, privileged persons, had access to an education. After that, this was expanded to all the people. So this was a good thing for most of the people. In the last few years, we are starting to question this system because it is failing. So we are kind of awakening for this other reality. So, starting with the first point I mentioned, well, my 3 kids were home educated until the age of 6, because that's when the system, the education basic system, starts in Portugal. At the age of 6, you have to enroll your kids in the public school of the area in order they can be registered in the education official system. So, at this time, we didn't know anything about homeschooling. And so, like most of the parents, we thought they really had to go to school. And that's what we did. Anyway, when things don't go well, what you do is you go to the school, you try to communicate with the teachers in order to solve the problems you have. But if this doesn't work, and if you see there's not going to be any change, then you can start looking for another school, and you try to transfer your child for another school that you think it's better. But for that you need a residence or work address to justify this transference, and that's what we did with our oldest sons. Anyway, with Anna, she started, just like her brothers, she started the first year at a public school with nearly 60 students and with a timetable of 5 hours a day. And it was not so bad. But in the meantime, the government started to build these big educational centers and closes all these smaller schools. So, in the second year, Anna goes to this big school with around 500 students and with a timetable of nearly 9 hours a day. So this was really, really bad. So she started having stomach aches frequently, to be often feverishly, and so on. She even asked me in the morning, "Mommy, if I get a fever, I don't go to school, right?" No, of course you don't go. So she really got these low fevers often that passing during the day with no other medication care than just staying at home. Okay. So she was really unhappy at school. Besides, we also started to question the teachers' methods at some points. And these 2 aspects really started to worry us. So when we knew about homeschooling, we decided to try it. So, as I told you, in Portugal, homeschooling is legal, but and there are several laws that mention home education, but these laws were not made specific to regulate the home education. They were made to regulate the private schools that appeared after the revolution, and the home education was mentioned in a law before, so it was included in those laws in some little articles. So it is not specific. Well, when we analyze this question, we can look at these 2 points. We can look at the bureaucratic process to integrate this modality on one hand, and then there is the evaluation questions. So, concerning with the first issue, this is really amazing, very simple bureaucratic process in Portugal. You make the regular enroll at the local school, just like the other kids, and you just had you just need to have a declaration where you inform, you not ask permission, you inform that you're going to homeschool your child. So this declaration should also indicate the person that is going to assume this responsibility, and it has to be a person that lives with the child. Okay, and in our case, nothing else was requested. But I know some other cases where the parents had to make the proof of their qualifications. And in fact, there's a law of 1977 that defines this minimal qualification that the parents should have to make home education. But in my case, nothing else, even this was not asked. I also know some other cases where the parents were subjected to an approval of the region directory in order to be able to do homeschooling. So, what we see is that are different informations. In Portugal, we have the Ministry of Education, and then we have 5 regional directors of education spread among the country. And because the law is not specific for this home education and does not establish the procedures, some of this discrepant information may be due to the different interpretation that these different DRAs are doing of the normative documents. So, and this is questionable. So, and because of these lags, this apparently gives this space for these different DRAs to take some decisions and define some procedures, mostly according to their convictions. And we should be questioning this. On the evaluation issue, this is different according to the different levels. So we have the first cycle with 4 years, and we have the second cycle, two more years, and the third cycle with 3 more years. Then we have the secondary cycle with 3 more years, and then the students can proceed their higher education. On the second and the third cycles, the law is very clear. The kids go to the local school and make the exams of the end of the cycle. It's not every year. At the end of the second cycle and at the end of the third cycle, they make the exams at school just like the other students, okay? On the secondary, they make the national exams on the school with the other students, and then they can proceed like the others. They can proceed to the higher studies. But on the first cycle, there is no law that defines this. So, in my case, what was asked for me to do was, at the end of the 4th year, again at the end of the cycle, Anna is going to her local school and makes the final test with the other kids in the classroom, with all the other children, okay? We also will present a portfolio with the work that we have been doing, what we think it's important to be there. And this will be analyzed by a teacher's council that will decide if she can go to the second cycle or not. In any case, the analysis of these two documents, the written tests and the portfolio, I, as responsible of her education, should be there, present, and must be heard. They cannot just decide by themselves, okay? And this is important. This means that the total responsibility of the formative course falls on the parent, and the local school does not interfere on the way you work, on the way you do things. However, the assessment of the results obtained with this formative course are defined at school, at the end of each cycle. So, to guide us, we have two documents which are the national programs and the national curriculum. And regardless of the modality chosen, at the end of each basic cycle, the students should have learned the subjects that were mentioned on the national programs and developed the competence, the skills that are described on the other document I mentioned, the national curriculum. And these are the same documents that the teachers use at schools or should use properly at schools. These are two good documents if we analyze deeply. They are sufficiently open and flexible to permit different approaches. So it's not the process that is supervised, it's the results you obtain with the process you choose. And this is valid for the schools too. The teachers don't have to follow a manual. They have the autonomy to do things as they think it's better. Okay? So, returning to Anna's case, she ended her first year at homeschooling, which corresponded at the 3rd year of the first cycle. And at this far, we consider this was a very good option. And why? Mostly because she recovered her self-confidence. And this was really the base to achieve the subsequent successes she had. She also recovered her liberty to try and her right to fail without being punished, without feeling having that sense of losing, of being a loser. And this is also so important. And because of this, she was able to ransom her creativity, not only in that artistic sense, but applied in some other situations, like solving mathematic problems, for instance. So she realized there is not only one right way to do one thing. Now she, instead of copies, she is free to write her own texts and her illustrated histories that she loves to do, and she does this whenever she wants to. So she also remembered the joy of learning she had forget, and now she's really much, much happier. And the approach I attempted with Anna is based on her interests, her motivations, on what she wants to learn, to discover, and so on. So she decides what project she wants to do, to research, and she also decides and plans the work she wants to do during this week. And she does this with my help, if she asks, when, just like she wants to do it. But at the end of the week, that's the commitment we have. We talk about this. So she makes a kind of evaluation of what she have been doing, what she have been learning. I give her my feedback, and together we make a permanent reflection. It's not a heavy thing. It's natural. And we make this reflection on her path. So what we do basically is that having the national program and the national curriculum as reference, all her experiences, her life experiences, can be translated in terms of goals and in terms of competencies and skills that she developed, and in that we can include having these documents as reference, and that's what we do. And this is not so difficult to do when you deeply know these documents. And in fact, in the last 10 years, I have been trying to create actionable connections between these two dimensions of my training, both psychology and education. And as a natural evolution of my work, I have this privileged contact with some parents who have chosen or that consider the home education modality is a sustainable option for their children. What I realized is that the most of these parents, for different kind of reasons, feel somehow less qualified to take this step alone. So they have the will. They often organize their lives to have the time, to create this time, because it needs time to do this, but they feel that they don't have the skills. So this frightens them. And part of my work lately has been giving this support as a kind of an advisor of these parents. But it's not, this support implies a deep analysis of the whole emotion and the experiential dynamics of the families in order to identify both fragilities and potentialities that we can work on. So with this we can define a project with the family, involving the family, that is unique and different for each family. It's not only a path of the children, of the child, it's of the whole family, okay? And it also presumes, of course, the most formal aspects of the process, as we told, transforming this experience in putting this in the curriculum, in the program. So this is also has been doing. So I'm almost finishing. I believe this kind of support helps these families to feel more confident and less anguished with their choice. I really believe this because, and I don't think there's only one right way to do things. In Portugal, the way I see it, we are not giving the first steps on this. We are still preparing ourselves to be able to give the first steps. So this work is important to be done. And I'm not just talking about the other families, I'm talking about myself too. Because I could make this choice for my youngest child, but I was not able to do this choice yet for the others. You know what I mean? So, I finished. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? I don't know if we have time to this.
Hi, I have a very simple question. I'm wondering, since the kids have to pass an exam at the end of each cycle, each educational cycle, I suppose your daughter has already done the first cycle since she's 13?
No. She's on she will begin the fourth year of the first cycle. So next year
Of the second cycle, then she takes the exam. Primaria, primary school.
Primary school. She did the third year of the primary school. So she still has 1 year, and in the end of this year she will be evaluated.
Okay, yes. Well, maybe you can estimate how much time do you spend teaching for the test? What's the percentage? Is it theoretically? Kids will learn this very, very quickly. The tests are pretty simple. This is the theory. This is what I've been reading. But what have you found?
What I found in the case of Anna, I don't think I'm not prepared to assume this, that, okay, they learn by themselves and they don't need any kind of guide. We don't have to be with them. Sometimes we have to be with them, of course. And I don't believe that the practice exercises are a monster and no, we can't do this. No, this is not good. Because if you want to ride bicycle, if you want to make surfing, if you want to make something physical, you have to practice too. You start and then you have to practice in order to do it better. So why not the other things too? So the practice is important, but it's not forced. So she does exercises. We have a lot of material that she can go and use. And she really does it. And the plan she makes has every week she does some exercise. She doesn't do this every day, all the time, but sometimes she does this. And she decides, okay, now I'm prepared to do this. It's a way of expand our knowledge to other situations too, and to improve our abstract thought. So there is not really a percentage of time I can tell you, but this work is done, but it's not forced. And it has been working with her, because we have this commitment and she respects this, and I respect her choices too.
Hola. Me llamo Mónica, soy de aquí de España y yo personalmente no estaría de acuerdo con que mis hijos estudiaran en el hogar el currículum oficial. No nos has comentado si en Portugal hay una serie de personas o un grupo que también rechazan, además de llevar a los niños a la escuela, rechazan...
Slowly, please.
¿Tienes traducción? Perdona.
If you speak slowly,
sí, vale,
I can understand.
Vale. Pensaba que hay en Portugal personas que rechazan también el currículum. Pregunto, quieren enseñar en casa, pero no lo que diga el ministerio, sino otras cosas que consideran más importantes o más necesarias para sus hijos. ¿Hay este movimiento, esta gente allí?
I think in Portugal, as in the other parts of the world, there are always persons who think like like you described. But I also think, I don't know the reality of other countries, and I don't know if in the other countries the curriculum or the program is so closed or is so closed, it's the word, that doesn't permit different approaches. But in our case, and I'm speaking of the first cycle, because this is what I deeply know. This is what I know better. I don't know really if in the second or third cycle this happens. But in the first cycle, we have a really good program. For instance, in the history of Portugal, in the program it appears that the children should study and learn some facts or some personalities of the history of Portugal, but it doesn't mention which one. What happens in the schools is that the teachers don't apply this curriculum and these programs properly. So it's much more easier to have a manual made by an editor where all the subjects are there. So, what we see mostly in the schools is that at the fourth year, in 1 month, most of the kids have to know the first and the second and the third dynasty, and that's not what's in the program. Okay, so I accept that we could question this, but we should question this after analyze deeply these documents, not just, okay, this is a system, so this is not good, let's turn to the other way. Okay, so after we analyze this, then we are able to question this. It's not perfect, but it's sufficiently open and flexible. And this is the example I found to explain this for you. But certainly there are some people that don't want to follow this. But I don't really think they know what this is.
Hola, Claudia.
Hola.
Soy Maricruz, de aquí de España también. Una pregunta rápida. ¿Qué ocurre si tu hijo, si sabes si tu hijo o cualquier otro que está en el proceso de homeschooling en Portugal no pasa la prueba?
Si no pasa la... Sorry, I can speak Spanish, so I will speak Portuñol and you will not understand, so I rather speak English. So if your child doesn't pass the proof, you don't have, like in other countries, to return to the school. They cannot refuse your choice the next year. You can still continue at homeschooling. There is no restriction on this. Anyway, in the school, a lot of kids don't pass the tests. So, but in Portugal, I know that in some other countries this happens. If they fail 1 year or 2 years, then they have to return to school. In Portugal, we don't. This can't happen. This is not in the law. Okay. Are we finished? Okay. No. Okay. Thank you.